Joël et Nikolai.
Thanks to everybody for joining us here. For the sake of being here on this very important occasion. On the 31st of December we lost a very good colleague, we lost a very good friend, and I am happy that his spouse, widow now, unfortunately, is present here. Ja, очень рад, Евгения, вы там сейчас. We have taken the opportunity that we have a number of people here who have known Nikolai very well and who would like to say a few words about him, a few memories. And today, besides the cultural evening from the students, there are also a number of important guests who have known Nikolai very well and would like to say a few words about it. I am just going to moderate this event, so I would like to start from a ranking with the chairman of the board of trustees, Dr. Chris Salberger, who has also been very close to Nikolai. Maybe, Chris, you can say a few words. Building some pauses to be able to Marina to make the translation.
Thank you, Walter. Yes, as you said, Nikolai was a friend, certainly a friend of mine, and a friend of ISU. I'll share with you a little bit about the early days of ISU. In '88, when ISU held its first program, the world was very different than it is today. We had the Soviet Union on one side of the space race. We had Western countries in opposition, and there was a lot of tension in the world. I think ISU as a organization was one of those that is responsible for that bridging of that gap and that movement towards peace that we see today. And I think ISU continues to play that role. But back in '88, the first session, was something really incredible that happened, is that the Soviet Union let students from MIE, the Moscow Aviation Institute, come out of Soviet Union, unheard of, and to go to the US for this International Space University. And then the second year of ISU's program in '89, something even more remarkable happened, is they let some professors from MIE come and teach at ISU. And you have to remember, MIE is like the big university of places where the fighter jets were designed, and all the top military scientists, rocket propulsion scientists were there. Nikolai was there and was one of those very first professors to come and teach at ISU, actually here in Strasbourg in 1989. We all immediately fell in love with Nikolai. He had the courage to do that, and in those early years and in subsequent years really got this coming together between space activities in Russia and other parts of the world, and this continued, right up until the present day. Even this past year, he was active in trying to set up a potential SSP program in St. Petersburg, in organizing trips for our students to Russia. And so I remember him this way as a really an international statesman interested in peace and bringing the world together as space. I also remember him as a dear friend who led not just me but many of our colleagues here in the room on trips through the wine route here to sample the Alsatian wines, and always had a very diplomatic way of saying things. Whenever I'd see him, I would say, "Nikolai, you look the same. You don't change. Year after year, you always look the same, trim and in good shape." And he would look at me, and he'd say, "Chris, you're looking powerful." And I know it was his way of saying, "You better skip dessert today." But anyway, we all have very fond memories of Nikolai, but I share with you just this thought that he really was a key part of ISU in what he did for our programs here, leading the MSS program, but also really that international statesman that really fulfilled the vision of ISU of bringing the world closer together. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ken. As an academician, Nikolai had to deal a lot with the guidance from what we call the Academic Council, and had a lot of contact with them. So I would suggest that maybe both of you jointly, that the lady Su Yin Tan, she's now the president of the Academic Council, and the vice president is Juan de Dalmau, which you, Yevgenia, you know very well from the past. So maybe you can combine your speech. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Walter. Hello, everyone. I would like to first of all express my condolences to Nikolai Tolyarenko's family. As Walter mentioned, we are representing the Academic Council, and incidentally you can see that Nikolai has had intergenerational impacts. I'm more from a voice of alumni, an alumnus of SSP 03, which incidentally was the first SSP that was housed here in this building and in Central Campus. And Nikolai Tolyarenko was actually one of the first lecturers who I met here on campus. And we would like to say, express our condolences to Nikolai's family, also express appreciation to Nikolai Tolyarenko for his impact on the faculty and also to the student community. For the faculty, we really appreciate Nikolai's enthusiasm and consistent support. On behalf of the students and also alumni, we appreciate the strong drive that he had for education and also for ensuring academic quality, and his serving as a mentor, as a supervisor to students. As I mentioned before, I've known Nikolai since 2003, which is perhaps a more recent memory than some of the stories that you might hear today. But since 2003, I remember Nikolai was department co-chair of engineering. He always struck all of the students with his openness, very accepting of all students from different nationalities, and also no matter the age, no matter the gender, no matter what type of diversity or background. He was also very fierce in defending academic quality, highly technical, which I'm sure many of you can relate to, and he was remarkably knowledgeable. I think we'll all remember him for his genuine warmth and also his characteristic Russian humor. I always remember the popular taglines that he had. For example, when he was talking about satellite design, since I'm from space applications, he would always say, "It's a box, it's ugly," referring to satellite design. local Strasbourg cuisine. He said, tarte flambée is not real food. And of course, all of us remember him for his great love of Baden-Baden, which was his paradise here on earth. And last but not least, I think the most popular tagline that 2003 alumni remember is the saying, "Can you imagine?" So he said this in almost every lecture. And I feel that it was daring us all to dream big and to dream bigger. And I think that we will all miss him greatly for his warmth, and his memory will live on in ISU. I'd like to turn it over to Juan.
Dear Nikolai, we have with us here your wife, Evgenia, and your daughter, Mariana. And we know, dear Nikolai, that you're also here. When we came into this room, we saw a plaque next to the door in your honor that was placed here in 2011 when theoretically you were retired. But we know you have not retired because you are here. We all know you, and as long as there is someone around the world talking about space, you will be there. We also know, dear Nikolai, that you wanted, and you still want, your grandson, who's still studying, to continue his studies at ISU. So we hope that the Nikolai family will be connected with us for many more years. Personally, I first met you in 1989. You were teaching me and many other people. And the last time I shook hands with you was only a few months ago in the Netherlands. And you were teaching. That's all I have seen you doing. Nikolai, I've seen you all the time giving to others, giving your knowledge, your experience, your sympathy, your time. But there's something mysterious. I never saw you taking. I don't even know if you really were eating a lot. I rarely saw you eating. Even when we went to Baden-Baden, I saw you enjoying it, but I didn't see you drinking that water. So still, today it's a mystery to know where did you get all that knowledge and all that energy that you have been giving to others. Dear Nikolai, большое спасибо. Спасибо вам, Juan. As Juan said, indeed, Nikolai was still very active. He was still following up a number of students, even this year. And one of the students which was very close to Nikolai, and he followed the project over that student, is Alec Bartos. So he would certainly be very well placed to, from this generation, somebody talked about intergenerational, to say how he lived the last months together with Nikolai. Alec?
Thank you. First, I want to present our condolences in the name of the colleagues. At the beginning, I was thinking to read the letter I wrote in January, but now I'm thinking I read only the end. The letter only speak about. Even if I've met Nikolai in April 4, exactly for the Yuri's night, I fell in love with him very, very quick, and I had only a couple of months of time to spend with him. But in those few months, I was absolutely in love with his passion for education and for space and for how he managed to make myself to feel like I'm special. So in that letter in January I made a promise. So 2016 supposed to be the 15th anniversary of the traditional Moscow trip he was organizing by himself. By belief and passion for education and preserving his culture to ISU students. Considering the difficulties he had to organize this trip, he always said, "This is the last time I do it." And it seemed that this year it was the last. So you see, I'm sorry, but no, dear professor, I spent since then a lot of time and energy to continue this dream, and I'm happy that Professor Welch, our director of program, is not here to hear this, because I spent really a lot of time on this and not in studying. So I can say now that yes, we continue to go and keep this tradition. So we already organized that trip, and we have confirmation that we'll continue his tradition, because he wanted us to see and to learn about space and about his country. So thank you, Nikolai.
Of course, Evgenia, the people who are closest to Nikolai were the faculty and the staff who were working here. They have been many, many years colleagues and enjoyed the presence, like myself, of Nikolai. And representing the staff and the faculty at the same time, I would like to ask Vasilis if he could say a few words, and I believe he will then also introduce another aspect.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Greetings, everyone. I have read a few notes, so you will excuse me if I read. Mine suggest routines. When the routine is broken, there is some inertia. I still read news that I would like to discuss with Nikolai about space, politics, life, philosophy, science. Then I realized painfully that this is not possible. But there is some resistance to the mind. What can I say about Nikolai? First, that he has a special place in my heart, and the heart of many people that he touched. But why? As every person, he was born alone, and he passed away alone. And as every person, he had a number of choices. Probably the most important choice in life is whether to be a giver, a person that takes pleasure in giving, as one said before. Nikolai was a giver. He shared knowledge. He shared life. He shared. He was generous. And sometimes that feels a little bit like a lamb, but it leaves a legacy. I was privileged, along with the rest of the staff, to work with him for several years. Not for him. Because with Nikolai, you did not work for him, but you worked with him. You shared the goods and the bads, but mostly goods. Generous and kind-hearted. Despite the wealth of knowledge, or perhaps because of the wealth of knowledge, Nikolai was mostly characterized by his generosity and love for life. And love for life means respect. I have already said too much for someone who lived a Spartan life, paying less attention to rhetorics and more on pragmatic offerings. And Nikolai was a man of action, not of words. A great man of action who smiled in the face of adversity and lived a worthy life. Axios, as we say. Our heart goes to his family and those he left behind. But sorrow is always greater when dealing with a man of his status, because he gave to society as a whole. God be with you, Nikolai. Rest in peace and smile to us from time to time from above or indeed from down here. Farewell, my friend, eternal memory, Eonia Mnimi. On behalf of staff, I would like to express our condolences to the family and invite Christy Jenk to present to the family a memorial tribute.
So you can see how the people loved Nikolai. They will never forget him. Before we go a little bit to a traditional toast voor Nikolai. Ja, je znaju 100 gramov ili 50 gramov ili mjenče. I would like to think that we can end this little laudatio, the little ceremony, with at least asking everybody for 1 minute silence and think about what has been said in the memory of Nikolai. So can I ask you for 1 minute of silence, please? Thank you very much. Thank you. So, what I'm now proposing in a bit of Russian tradition is I'm inviting you personally to outside on the memory plate of Nikolai drink a glass of vodka in his memory. It's the nicest thing we can do. So, you see that we do have that. Thank you very much, Evgenia, for coming. We appreciate it very, very much.
Hello, Andrew. Welcome back. Yeah.